Well, first, we wish our Muslim colleagues well in their celebration of Eid, which starts today. And maybe on the second day, when I was fairly critical of Minister Malewa, I like to think that what I said actually got through, and she got on the blower and phoned Minister Gordhan, so that yesterday in the mini-budget he announced that 80 million rand would be given to the Kruger National Park in the anti-rhino poaching campaign. But also today we're seeing, for example, the Plettenberg Bay Nature Reserve. They are dehorning their rhinos today in an effort to deter poachers from killing those animals. You know, the very first symposium that was held by the Conservation Agency in this province was in 1970. I was there at the second. So I've seen this progression from then to now. And maybe what I'd just like to, and I reflected back on that, and I've said some of these remarks to some of the people in this room. What was it like then, and how has it changed? Okay? Well, I thought first about the participants, the delegates that went there. White males only. Natal Parks Board scientists and a handful of farmers. Now, it's non-racist and non-sexist. It includes not a single organization, but 80 different organizations that have participated in this program. That's involved a number of conservation authorities, universities, NGOs. We never talked to NGOs in the past. And young students. And the content, those subjects that were dealt with. Then, a bit of wildlife management, but mostly a lot of single species studies on ungulates. Oh, and some fish farming and fish surveys. Now, my word, is it comprehensive? Wide-ranging, a lot of topics, and several presentations on each of those topics. What about the disciplines? Then, wildlife in particularly zoological and botanical research and some ecological science. But now, oh my word, a huge diversity of natural science subjects, and importantly, expansion into conservation practice, with certainly an emphasis or focus on applied conservation and conservation planning. Most welcome. And the themes, game farming in those days, with a little on fish farming and so on. But now, my word, multidisciplinary, very broad. Our ecosystems and species, from montane to oceanic, and everything in between. Social and economic systems. Not forgetting the legal and policy aspects. And the scales. What are the scales? Very parochial in the past, kind of island type approach. Now it's the conservation of biodiversity at all scales, from the genes to the landscapes. I think in the outstanding presentations that we've heard in this symposium, on such a wide range of topics by passionate conservationists demonstrate that conservation science and practice in South Africa is in very good hands. And I think that gives one a great deal of encouragement for the future. Similar to what Professor Fincham has told us just now, I also reflected on what are those grave issues that the kind of take-home messages. What are the main ones that we should concern ourselves with going forward in the months and years ahead? A member of, or the head of the Natal, was then the Natal legal fraternity, advised that when you make these kinds of points, only give 3 main arguments. But he said, if the pressures are such, you can stretch it maybe to 5, because the human mind really only will absorb and remember 3 to 5 messages. Okay. So these were mine. The ongoing destruction of our green infrastructure, whether it's at the scale of the fracking, as we heard earlier, or in your backyard. The matter of the conservation and environmental laws that still need fixing, and of course their implementation. They remain very weak. The whole issue around international wildlife crime, and the sustainable conservation of our natural resources by communities. And certainly, the building of support by people for conserving biodiversity and protected areas. I wish you all well in leaving the symposium and travelling home to your destinations, and encourage you to be determined, stubborn, opportunistic, and passionate in the work you will carry on doing into the future. Thank you.